Welcome to Mind Over Matter, where we feature young Jamaicans who are shooting for the stars. I'm your host, Margaret Boyne. And remember, if you haven't subscribed to the channel as yet, please do and click the notification bell. Mental health is a topic that affects us all, and my guest has not only overcome personal challenges, but is also making a difference in the lives of others. She's a 19-year-old student activist, a UNICEF youth advocate, and a 2023 recipient of the Governor General's Achievement Award for Excellence in Academics and Leadership. She shares her journey, which will inspire and educate. My guest is Dannyelle-Jordan Bailey. Welcome to Mind Over Matter, Dannyelle.
Thank you for having me.
And I'm looking forward to talking to you. Can you tell us a little about yourself?
Well, I said I'm 19, recently graduated high school in June/July of this year, 2023. I start university, I start medical school in January of next year. So in 2 months, I'll be an official university student. Since then, I've kind of just been working with UNICEF, trying to do some advocacy outside of, the high school sphere, because that's what I've been used to for the past 7 years, kind of trying to create my brand outside of being a high school student leader, and now just myself, Dannyelle-Jordan Bailey. That's pretty much where I am now. I'm a writer as well, but I haven't written in quite some time because I've kind of just been observing for the past couple months. And when I have something to say, then I'll put pen to paper.
You're a student activist. So when and how did your journey start?
It's interesting because it kind of just came out of nowhere.
Okay.
I was always involved in high school since grade 7. Teachers kind of saw something that was inside of me in terms of the passion. And it started there, minor things representing the school that I attended, St. Hugh's, going out whenever an event required a student leader to be present. And then externally outside of the high school sphere, it started in about grade 10 when I did more things outside of school, and then officially started in grade 11 when I joined the National Secondary Students Council as Region 1 Assistant Vice President. That's when I kind of got not just a glimpse, but actual experience into what it meant to be a true student leader and to do work in the field, that being in other schools across Jamaica. And when I got insight into the experiences of other students, kind of realizing that there's a big disparity in how students experience education. So I guess I could say it started there, officially started when I was in grade 11. So when I was around 16, and I branched off since then.
They are presently a UNICEF youth advocate. So tell me a little about working with UNICEF.
It's one of those things where it's a big deal. I guess
yes, it is.
I love it. It's essentially I just represent the pillars of what UNICEF is. Through advocating for mental health, because there are many different areas in which UNICEF advocates for.
Right.
I think UNICEF Youth Advocate, I focus on the area in which I specifically advocate for, which is mental health. So I know they have advocates that speak on climate change, nutrition, children's rights, a variation of things, but my specific area is mental health and advocating for youth, not just within Jamaica, but on an international level.
Let's talk a little about mental health. So the UNICEF report 2021 shows that depression is high among youth. Globally, 1 in 5 children have mental health issues. What do you think has contributed to this?
I think it's the expectation that's placed on children and youth is not the same that it was back then. You're no longer just expected to be a student, but you're expected to be a multifaceted student in which you are participating and standing out in a variation of activities. So it's not just for you to get good grades, it's for you to get good grades and to also be a part of many different organizations and clubs, and then stand out in organizations and clubs. So it's not just, you're not just expected to do one thing anymore, you're expected to consistently succeed. And within the space of Jamaica, unfortunately, we don't give our youth spaces to make mistakes. We're kind of just like, if something minor happens or if something major happens to them, we kind of just try to react to the response that is it's like, we're not expected to grow and to falter in some regards. It's perfection is expected consistently. And because of that consistent expectation of perfection, it can be also stress. Because I know it's a lot of stress students and you.
But is there any particular reason, or why did you concentrate on mental health?
Because I've had my own personal struggles. I've had my journey with mental health. I've had my, still it's a process. It's a growth process that is never ending. I've had my own struggles with mental health that I've overcome.
Okay.
So I having those struggles and realizing that the struggles are not unique to me. It's a common thing that everyone to an extent would experience it and realize that it's something that I can help to destigmatize and to speak on. Just realizing that speaking about it alone creates a big difference. It helps a lot with my decision to pursue mental health advocacy.
So at that time, did you have the support that you needed?
I did. When it just started off, I didn't tell anyone because as I said, the expectation of Jamaican youth, it's perfection is expected all the time. So I kind of thought that because there are these high expectations of me for me to bring up my own struggles, and people would kind of change the way myself. For years before I told my mom, and after telling my mom is when she got professional help for me. So I can say that I had the support when I asked for the support. But there was a long period where I was taking it on by myself and dealing with it by myself, which I ended up realizing was doing more harm than it was doing good. So there was a point where I didn't have a choice. But
you have an unusual parent, though. In our culture, mental health is a taboo topic, as you mentioned. It kind of, so people think that, boy, you mean that you're getting mad. That's how our Jamaicans look at it. What are some of the stigmas that is associated with the subject, and how you change the negative narrative as well?
As you said, that you're going mad. That's the main thing that I hear of. One of the main and only things that I hear, people kind of associate any mental health disorder, mental health challenge with someone going crazy. And that's one of the reasons why the stigma does exist, because no one wants to be associated with the word crazy in a negative way. You hear mental health and people say that you're crazy, and it's just like, but I'm not crazy, I'm just going through something right now. It creates a toxic space. People no longer feel safe and comfortable speaking about it. And in terms of destigmatization, I think one of the main things that we can do, and one of the main things that we have been doing, because I've seen progress, is talking about it. Especially since the year has started, I've seen so many events being held by UNICEF and by other organizations in which young people just spoke about their problems. The space is created where they can just talk about it, and when they realize that they can just talk about it and that they're not alone, it really does help them, because it's just like, I'm not the only one going through this, or she's going through it too. So it creates a space in which everyone kind of understands. And I know people have been trying a lot to educate parents about, mental health terms and what mental health is, to kind of create that space in which children can go to their parents and speak about it. So progress is being made, but at the same time, there's still lots of stigma surrounding it.
I should ask you though, what is mental health?
It's just, it's how you're doing emotionally. Because, we think about physical health and we think about going to the doctor and getting a checkup on how we're doing in terms of our physical bodily functions. But, mental health, it's very similar. Because I think a lot of times they like to separate the two of them, health as just being physical health, but mental health is just, it's how we're doing in our minds, how we're doing emotionally in terms of, the ways in which our brain functions, how we think, how we express ourselves. It's the health of that.
What are some of the urgent things you think can be done in schools to support the mental health of students?
I think one of the main things that we can do in schools is to build on the peer counseling programs that exist. And when I was in high school, we had peer counseling I was a peer counselor, but after about 2 years, it had died down, it had stopped. So it wasn't something that was consistent within the schools. And I've heard students say where it's not a consistent program that exists. So it will start off and then it will die down after a while. But what we don't realize is that also students are unofficially peer counselors, where they do end up counseling their peers without getting a badge that says peer counselors, because a lot of times, during lunchtime when students decide to sit down and talk about things, it's them being a counselor to their peers. So I think to strengthen that whole peer counseling program and then, adding to it by giving them training would help a lot. Because when students really sit down and talk to each other, it's where a lot of problems are solved. It's where a lot of my problems have been solved, throughout my high school experience. So I think that's one of the things that can be done.
But in your experience, though, Dannyelle, what are some of the most effective ways to engage young people in conversations about mental health?
I think when we answer that question, one of the things we have to do is to first engage youth at the policy level, because when engagement is done at the policy level, when ministerial bodies actually go out into the field, it would already be catered for youth. Nothing have to be done after that. So I think it's first engaging youth and getting consultation from youth and when the policy is just being created. To help better facilitate youth. Because a lot of times what we do is that the policy is created, and after the policy is created, we ask for consultation. So it's just like, you guys have already done the work, why are you coming to me now? It's to consult youth during the conceptualization of whatever policy is going to be implemented towards mental health.
And recently we had this Valiant and him song about Mad We Are Mother. I know you need to reach out to some of these artists, Should probably do some more of those songs.
I mean, in a way, I guess you could say he was destigmatizing it, because a lot of times, people are saying the term like they can relate to it, like
yes.
So I think something as simple as that, integrating the Jamaican culture, and how we say things, and can make it seem can kind of see it in less of a negative light.
Right.
I've been singing that song and expressing, that right. Like sometimes I just feel like there's just so much going on. They feel overwhelmed, and within the context, we describe it as "I'm mad, we are mad out." That's a good point. Kind of bringing him in to express what he means by the song. How
there's also an economic cost if we ignore mental health. So what part should the government play?
I think that's a good point, because one of the main things that the government wants to do is ensure the economic development of the country. And when people are not okay, then they're not able to contribute to the society. And I think it's just investment into mental health resources. Quality mental health resources are very expensive. Because when I went to the therapist and then a psychologist, it was a lot of money. $4,000 up for an hour. In order for it to be effective, it have to be done at least every week. And so, that's $8,000 for 2 weeks, do the math, $32,000 per month. It's a lot of money. I think it's also making therapy a part of health insurance.
You have a good point there.
It's also making medication a part of health insurance. I know they have a deduction sometimes that's done, because I say it to everyone, I'm on medication for my mental health. It's something I love to destigmatize, I love to talk about, but it's expensive. Even with the insurance that's applied to medication, it's still extremely costly. So I think it's seeing mental health as health. Shall we that the same deductions that are made to someone that's, for example, taking insulin is the same deductions that are made for someone that needs to see a psychologist or a therapist, and then someone that needs to go on medication.
But what about parents? Like, I'm a parent. How do I recognize the signs? Or
I mean, that can be difficult, because I guess with my parents, they could have never recognized the signs, because I am what you call, I have high functioning depression, and anxiety. So I'll be working, getting the best of grades, doing what I need to do, going to events and speaking, but I'll not be okay mentally. But people will not be able to recognize that, because I'm doing everything that I need to do to appear to be okay. So it really has to do with the individual child and what they're going through, because a lot of times as a parent, you may be doing everything you need to do to recognize if something is going on with your child, but because of what specific diagnosis they may have, you may not see anything as being wrong. So I guess it's just ensuring that you're always a safe space for them. So in the event that they do want to come to you, because sometimes they won't, sometimes years will go by And they won't come to you and, you feel terrible as a parent because you're saying, but I was, sometimes it's never a reflection of your parenting skills. It's just them. It's just always being that safe space for them. So in the event that they do want to come to you, they can. They never questioning, oh, can I go to my mom? Does she want to talk? Or is she gonna tell me to go depress the plate them, It's a matter of just always being a safe space.
And I find though too that teenagers they usually get kind of withdrawn and distant at a certain age. So it's like, you think it's normal when it probably isn't. So how do you maintain your own mental health well-being? I mean, given your experience.
I think it's taken me a while to kind of have the things that allow me to remain centered, because it's a continuous process. Right now I can say that, it's one of the main things, consistently taking the medication that's been prescribed to me. Because, it's the same thing with any medication. If you're on and off of it and you're not taking it at the exact time every day on a day-to-day basis as prescribed, then it's not going to work effectively. It needs to be consistent based on the way it's prescribed. So that's one of the main things for me is I have the notification on my phone, on the health app, on my iPhone, and it goes off at 8:30 p.m. every day. Take it, and I take it, and it helped. It's helped over time. And I think on top of that, because the medication can do so much and no more, is for me, a routine really helps, just setting out the things I need to do for the day and sticking to that, and leaving room for error. It really helps. When I make my smoothies in the morning, it kind of helps to say, okay, it's a new day, you can start off new year good, and just go at it. And I think something I've also been learning to do is to say no, because a lot of times I tend to take on more than I can manage, and it's something that everyone in my life continues to remind, because I still do it to this day, but I'm working.
Yes.
And you're like, come on now, you can't save the world on your own. But working on the whole saying no thing, where if I feel overwhelmed, I'll let the person know that, hey, I would love to do this right now, but I'm unable to do it right now. And sometimes I don't even, just not always giving them an explanation, because sometimes continuously giving explanations can make me feel drained. So just saying no, like I just can't do it right now. Full stop. I'm leaving it at that. And I think asking for help when help is needed, from my doctor, who is, at my disposal for me to call her or message her, if something is going on, which is not the norm. But, I have the opportunity to just reach out to her whenever something happens, to say, I think I need to talk to you right now. I think we need to kind of push out some things. Those are some things that I've consistently been doing. And sleeping, I know this year, especially in grade 13, I took on too much. I was getting very little sleep. So I'm trying to prioritize my sleep. Like I'm in bed by 10 o'clock the latest, and then I'm gone. Don't expect to hear from me after that. So I think those are something that I've been doing.
So you represented Jamaica abroad. Tell us about that experience.
Yes, I went to New York in September for UNICEF as a UNICEF youth advocate at the Youth Mobilization Lab for UNICEF during the United Nations General Assembly. It was hectic. I'm not going to lie, it was a lot. Like, it was work. I remember, got to the UNICEF headquarters every morning at around 8 o'clock and left every day at around 5 o'clock. By the time I got back, home, where home was for me, I just went straight to bed. But it was an opportunity to meet people from all over the world, people from Poland, Ukraine, Zimbabwe, everywhere. Like, it's crazy. But to even realize that we're really all the same.
Yes.
I think sometimes when we're in the little island of Jamaica, we kind of feel as if everywhere is just
the world, yeah.
And everybody's so different. But to even realize that, like, we're literally the same. We may have different mannerisms and different cultures, of course, but at our core, we all kind of want the same things. Have good intentions. That's what it was. But it was an amazing opportunity. I remember I got to speak at the Harvard Club, which was huge. I got to speak at, aside from the United Nations General Assembly with royalty, literal royalty, people that bowing to.
That's big.
It was an amazing opportunity. I got to meet so many people, so many youths from across the world that, share the same passion that I do. Especially because, someone like myself that, I see my journey and my reach being further than Jamaica. It was good to meet some other youth that intend to do the same thing.
Yeah.
So it was just not crazy. Like, because when I say I want to save the world, like people are just like, Danielle, you can't save the world.
You can't save the world.
It was good to meet people that felt the same way, where they're also trying to save the world. It was work. It was hard work, because I remember when I came back home, I was tired. I think some people thought I was on vacation. I'm just like, no, it was not. I remember when I came back home, I was in bed for like a week after. It was a lot, but it was, if I had to do it again tomorrow, I would be on the fly.
All right. You've served as president of the National Secondary Students Council as well. That was in high school. So why is advocacy so important to you, though, Dannyelle? Because
I think every time I answer this question, it's some people like the response, some people don't. But I think sometimes we have to recognize privilege and the fact that, Jamaica has made me see that there's so many disparities. And we can look at this geographically and socially. We can look at this geographically in the sense that you'll be driving somewhere and, 1 minute you're in what they call uptown, quote unquote uptown, and then, literally 2 centimeters after, you are in somewhere that's a hotspot for violence. I think just realizing that and just how bad it is within the country, it's made me realize that there are also people that can't speak for themselves, and people that they can't speak for themselves, but they're not listened to.
But they're right.
So I think oftentimes they like to say, people that can't speak for themselves, but they can. They're very much able to speak for themselves, but because of where they are, they're not listened to. And realizing that, there are people that are not listened to, it's made me realize that, well, someone has to speak for them. And I am more than willing to, give up my time to do that. So I think that's one of the main reasons why advocacy has been so important to me. And just also realizing that also change needs to happen, because we have made progress, while we can commend the efforts that have been put in place, at the same time we're very behind in terms of where we need to be socially, as a country, as a nation, as the world, really and truly. And it's just advocating for constant change, not for just, change right now and then we kind of stop and we go back to our old ways, but, a continuous growth on a national, international level. You're
just 19 years old. You have received the Governor General's Achievement Award.
Yes, surprised.
How do you feel about this achievement?
If I'm being honest, I applied and my goal was to be shortlisted. When I applied, I remember the application came out and people were just like, Danielle, just apply. Like everyone was telling me to apply. And I was like, no, like applying for Kingston, and Kingston is one of the most populated places in Jamaica.
Right, yeah.
Jamaica. And I know so many young people in Kingston that would be very deserving of that award. I was just like, I don't think I'm gonna get it. Let me just leave it alone. I ended up applying. Got all the documents ready, the recommendation letter, and I remember I was shortlisted, and I was just like, okay, we can move on. And I kind of just took it out of my head that I was going to get it, because the goal was to be shortlisted, and I knew so many people that had applied in Kingston, and I was just like, to me, they were more deserving. So I remember when I got the email, I remember, because this was during the I was in my email looking for past papers, because I usually send them to myself, and the email came up like, I remember going in the living room with my mother, and I was screaming, crying. She couldn't hear what I was saying, so she was like, "What are you saying?" And hurrah! And I told my dad, and he was just like, "I know," and I was like, because has these high expectations, so he just thinks that it's just gonna happen. So it was naturally about for me. Like, no one around me was surprised, but I was surprised. I'm still surprised. I have that word in my living room, and I just like, okay, your name's on that. And everything. By the Governor General stamped. So it's one of those things that although I've had it I've known for more than 4 months, I guess I could say, it's still something that it's just like, okay, this is mine. Like,
yes.
I got it. I can say that I have it.
Yes.
Very grateful for it. Because I did work hard. I didn't work hard to get the award, but it's nice to see all of my efforts solidified.
Efforts, yeah. And I'm sure, and I'm sure it'll be getting some more too.
We have so much.
Many young people might be unsure about how to get involved in leadership roles. What advice would you give to other teenagers who want to make a difference in their own, communities?
I think the first thing to do is to reach out to people that are already making a difference. Someone that inspires. That's what I did. Someone that inspires me. They were older student leaders, and I saw that what they were doing, and I wanted to do something similar. On Instagram, although sometimes some of them will take a while for them to respond, some of them will still respond. So just finding someone to give you that advice on where to start off, and also doing your research on what you want to do and the organizations that represent what you want to do. Because a lot of the times, wait until the application is open. Wait until they're having an event so you can go and speak to them and find out how you may not be able to join right away, but how you can support them. And also to start off within your school, because a lot of times when you're joining these organizations, you're going to need a letter of recommendation from your school or from a teacher or from the principal. So starting off where your community is, so that when you want to branch off, you have people to support you in the event that you need to be supported. So yeah.
You mentioned St. Hugh's. You're my first St. Hugh's guest, So tell me a little about your time there and the part they've played in your life.
Since from grade 7 to 11, well, I was there for 6 terms as well, but specifically from grade 7 to 11, it's just the teachers that saw something within me. Because they were always calling upon me. I remember in grade 7, I got the lowest school award for deportment. And it's just like, oh my gosh, because you have lower school is grade 7, 8, and 9, and I just came to grade 7. I had gotten the award in grade 7. So I was just like, okay, because the fact that the principal saw that within me at such an early stage, and that kind of just helped to propel. I guess I can say getting that award kind of propelled my leadership journey, because it was just like, okay, you can do this. The teacher saw something in me, and I would say, academically, I was always focused on schoolwork, but I guess I kind of had the turning point in grade 9 where it was just, I really got zoned into school, and the teachers who, I guess because I'm one of those annoying students, I'm gonna email pictures of me practicing and say, Miss, can you please check this for me? Like, it may not give me homework. It's gonna be and I'm gonna bring it in the next day. So the teachers that would mark my work even though they didn't give me work. I remember especially for literature, my teacher, Miss Miller, where love her with all my heart. I remember for CSEC, I wrote an essay on all of the prose and the poems and the Tempest. So it came up to a total about like 28 essays, if not more, and she read all of them.
Really?
Just like teachers like that they were there for my extraness, for my toughness. They were there for all of it. They did not say, why is she doing so much? And that kind of helped me that, it's okay to be enough sometimes.
You mentioned you'll be studying in January. You'll be going off to med school. But why medicine? I thought you'd have told me law.
I've always been a science girl. Don't get me wrong. I love social studies. I love Caribbean studies. I will be a science girl and a social sciences girl at heart. If I could do both, I would do both. But no, I have time. Just the whole idea of including my love for the sciences and helping people, it's the perfect match for me. I've always loved anatomy and biology, and I'm combining that with traveling the world and helping people and being someone for them to come to be fixed, whether it be mentally or physically, because I don't know what I want to specialize in as yet. But I have an idea, but there's so much, just being that for someone that they can come to help, having my door open for patients, whether it be free of cost or if cost is needed based on policy, then whatever. Just being that person for them, being being a family doctor where they say, let's go to Dr. Lynn, and she'll just go to her and she'll help you, man, assistant. Just being that person, be there for Jamaicans and be there for people all over the world. It's something that, it's one of the things that drives me.
Mm-hmm. You want to heal up anybody? I should give you that opportunity to thank some, some of the persons who have helped you.
Parents, yeah, they have carried me everywhere, but they have tolerated me. They have tolerated, but they've also given me a lot of support. They have represented a lot of what I want to do because they're also big on academics. So I've had that example throughout my entire life of working hard. I've always had that example.
Okay.
Also the teachers, as I said, Miss Miller, who was there to facilitate my enoughness. Never made me feel as if my enoughness was too much. It was always, you can do more. If you want to do more, do more. And also my friends, the people that are in my life that are close to me, they know themselves and they're always there to give me emotional support and just to remind me when I need to not do so much and when I need to give myself time to breathe. And also, they've been the ones to give me grace when I have not been able to give myself grace. And my brothers, oh gosh, my brothers are like in my heart. Like, I can't, if I had to say that I did everything for two people, I did everything for my brothers.
Do you have any info that you want to leave for any teenager or young persons who might be going through any mental issues and want to call somebody?
I would say I'm not going to tell you to go to your guidance counselor because we all go to the store with that. Sometimes students don't feel comfortable going to someone at school, but I would say reach out to someone, anyone. Whoever, because people 9 out of 10 times, they have that one person that they are willing to reach out to. Whether you're a friend or a friend of a friend or a parent or a sibling or someone, reach out to them. There is a chat line, there's a mental health line that the Ministry of Health provides, and you call in and you get put in contact with a psychologist. It's on their website. I'm not quite sure of the number right now, but look it up if needs be. I've used it before and it's helped me. And it's there and it's free of cost, so it doesn't charge your phone either. And if you want help on how to start, getting professional help, or where to start in terms of your mental health journey, you can reach out to me. People DM me on a regular basis asking me, how did I start? And I love responding to them because then, after a few months, they'll follow up and be like, this is what I'm doing now. And it just feels nice to know that what I said was of some help, Dannyelle-Jordan on Instagram, on all social media platforms. So yeah, that's what I would say.
It was great talking to you, Dannyelle-Jordan, and looking forward to see where your journey will take you. All the best.
Thank you.
All right. It was great.